Hi, my name is Ben Grundy, and I'm a senior environmental science and political science double major at Santa Clara University. I'm partnered with CycleConnect, which is a social enterprise in Uganda that provides asset-based loans with farmer-centric loan terms. CycleConnect takes a hands-on approach with their loans and provides asset and financial literacy training sessions to promote sustainable economic growth. I joined GSBF because I am passionate about sustainable international development and believe that social entrepreneurship's approach of empowering clients and not forgetting the agency of individuals is the best way of promoting sustainable development. I think of COVID-19, the fellowship, and having to pivot. It's been pretty difficult. There's been a lot of unknowns that we didn't necessarily account for in our action plan when we originally created it. Zoom burnout and fatigue are definitely real things. And also having to overcome a 10-hour time difference are challenges that you don't expect when you're planning to go into the field. But despite all of those difficulties, I was able to rise to the challenge with my partner and overcome these obstacles. And one of the things that I've learned throughout COVID-19 and having to pivot is the need to be patient and also be positive. Those are two things that you do have in your control when everything else seems to be outside your control. And those are two important aspects of my own life and my own experience that I've really been able to implement in overcoming these challenges.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Birdsall. I'm a recent SCU graduate where I studied psychology and public health. I'm partnered with CAD Africa, a social enterprise in Uganda that uses passion fruit farming to drive female agency and increase holistic health and wellness for refugees and out-of-school girls. Our project with CAD is centered on developing an evidence-based trauma management curriculum for their beneficiaries. I joined GSBF because of my interest in working with communities on issues around mental health, violence against women, and health equity, making this project the perfect opportunity to begin the work that I'm called to. Graduating during a pandemic left me with a lot of challenges, including balancing our GSBF project with job searching, a difficult task given these strange times. I was so thankful for the resources GSBF gave me in locating a full-time position and the mentorship I received in applying for funding for my graduate program at Stanford, which I'll be starting next fall. I hope one day, post-COVID, I'll get another opportunity to do this work in person with the perspective GSBF has given me with this important project.
Hi there, I'm Sammy Bennett, and in 2018 I was a Global Social Benefit Fellow with All Across Africa. I spent 2 months in Uganda and Rwanda, and I became fascinated by women's empowerment through economic involvement in their communities. And I applied for a Fulbright grant to study in India with a GSBI alum, Pollinate Group, and I spent 8 months in southern India. My research in India was action-oriented, and I was hoping to partner with my host enterprise to create value for them and to also value that was in line with my intellectual interests and also in line with benefiting the women that I was working with. So my research was essentially oriented around trying to understand women's stories of empowerment, how women became involved in this entrepreneurial role and what it meant for them. Was it increasing their agency? Was it increasing their capability to make decisions within the household? And I became very fascinated by the social networks within these communities and how women would sell products into communities far beyond their informal settlements. And the cooperative nature of these women entrepreneurs was really fascinating to me. And one thing that stood out to me about all of the entrepreneurs was their sense of resilience. And so in mid-March, about 8 months into my grant, I was sent home early due to COVID-19. The US Department of State had mandated that most scholars return back to their country of origin. And so, as you can imagine, it was a very abrupt and challenging return back home to Phoenix, Arizona. And I was grappling with a lot of grief as the whole nation was sharing this collective anxiety and grief. And I was also going through a sense of reverse culture shock coming back home. And so trying to process through leaving that community that I had created in India and the research I was doing that felt important and meaningful and actionable with the host enterprise Pollinate Group, I wanted to put my work to action, and I wanted to create stories that would impact and touch the hearts of people who maybe don't know the perspective of a woman entrepreneur living in an informal settlement in Bangalore. And so I took about 3 months and I spent my days writing a manuscript of creative stories that wove together research findings from my research and lessons that I gained from spending quite a lot of time in the field. And so compiling these stories of the woman I worked with in India was an extremely healing process for me to be able to go back and relive those memories, since I didn't get the chance to share my gratitude with the people that I had been working with. So very healing, and also it gave me an outlet and a platform to be able to share my story and their stories with a broader audience. I felt that people often don't know the perspective of a woman solar entrepreneur living in an informal settlement in India. And so I felt that since I had this rich information and the stories that had been shared with me, I felt I had the obligation to share those stories. And so I was able to share some of those stories with the Miller Center and with the Fulbright Association. And I think being able to disseminate that information and those stories in a way that was creative and like story oriented instead of just numbers, I felt that could touch the hearts of people, and you can see inside the perspective of that woman. And for me, that felt really special. And so I want to be able to take that forward in my future as I continue on my path of either that's conducting research or being a development practitioner, working in social enterprises. I want to make sure to always see the perspective of the people that I am working with. And so I feel inspired by these. I feel inspired by the women I was working with and the enterprise that hosted me. And I'm just very grateful for the experience. And I hope to really bring forward the importance of story in creating social change. And yeah.